Hello, and welcome to Mindless Consumers. I'm Ivana.
And I'm Brendan.
And what are we doing this episode?
Toss a coin to your witcher, O valley of plenty.
Right, that.
And the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the song.
The-
Although the song could have its own episode.
Just about the song.
Just talking about the song.
Right.
So, The Witcher got a Netflix adaptation.
Yeah.
The books, not the game,
Well-
which doesn't sound like a very big difference. I don't think it is that big of a difference.
It's difficult to say whether or not. It's difficult to specifically say whether or not the way that the game, or the role that the game played in our perception of the story didn't have some form of, like, some element of influence over the way that the Netflix show came out.
You don't think?
No, I think it's difficult to say what kind of influence it had. Sorry, there we go. There's my short sentence on that.
Well, it's the lady director, whose name has escaped me, Lauren Schmidt. Hisrich.
She's the showrunner. Is she the director?
Showrunner, same thing. She spoke about the books, not the game. Like, the game was.
She specifically talked about because it's officially an adaptation of the books.
Yeah.
I
mean, even down to Geralt's design, with his eyes, and medallion is different, and it seems much more true to the books, and that's fine. The books are dope. Andrei Sapkowski, if that's his name, not so much. He's a bit of a tool.
Are we discussing why he's a bit of a tool?
Wasn't it essentially that CD Projekt Red bought the rights to make stuff, and then he was like, yeah, whatever, I'll take like 30 quid. That's fine, don't worry about it.
It's not going to do very well.
Yeah, and then it did crazy fucking well.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, fuck, I want more money. And CD Projekt Red was like, you're a dick, but okay. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah.
But, so, right, we've got talking points again.
We do, just to keep us on track of
Hit me
what
with
we're
the
doing.
first one.
So we're going to start with the narrative differences between the show, the books, and the games. And I've played Witcher 3 and like 20 minutes of The Witcher 2 and haven't read the books.
I've played the entirety of The Witcher 2, the entirety of The Witcher 3, and I've read up on The Witcher 1. I haven't played that one.
Right.
Because I've never really been a PC gamer, and it only came out on PC.
Fair. And you've read some of the books.
I've read some of the books.
Cool.
So, yeah, so season 1 follows all of the short stories in The Last Wish, the first book.
Yeah.
Which all of those things are alluded to within the games, but because they took place yonks before the game started, it never really draws too much of, like, the word is lost.
In terms of storyline, that you can't. Well, there's no comparison. In terms of storyline, it's difficult to compare the story chosen for the games to the story chosen for the series.
Because it was never fully covered in the games.
Yeah.
It's talked about, alluded to, which is fine. So the game can kind of be taken out of the equation a little bit.
In terms of narrative, yes.
Yeah.
I suppose.
But between so was there any specific points we had in regards to the narrative, or was it just covering the narrative in general?
So there's narrative differences, which
are primarily
with the game are covered just by saying the game covers a different story to the series, at least in terms of season 1.
Yeah, a later story.
And with regards to the books, it's officially absolutely based on the books, and so it
Yeah.
follows some of the storylines in the books, but
Well,
not necessarily very closely.
Yeah, the books, it does. There's a couple of scenes I outright recognise.
Yeah.
And the books do have this disjointed, because it's all told from Geralt's perspective. There's never any real darting back and forth between, like, not that you can really visibly see dancing back and forth between timelines
Yeah.
and stuff. So when it jumps toward, jumps to show what Ciri's up to, and then jumps back to Geralt, and then to Yennefer, and then back to Geralt, then back to Ciri, then whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So that is a new narrative choice made by Lauren.
But yeah, for the show specifically.
Yeah.
So that was one of
which was done apparently to give all those other characters a bit more backstory.
Yeah, and I suppose so. That was one of the sub sort of points within this talking point is the characters that we see, whose eyes we see the story through, which sets the show apart from the books and the games in that you're not limited to Geralt. And we were discussing this in terms of it appears to be one of those things where it's mostly, or probably mostly, because it's difficult to just portray the story through Geralt's eyes in a TV show. I guess, you could.
Not doing that diversifies it a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more points of view, a lot more different stories intertwining with each other. I mean, if you want to draw a comparison to Game of Thrones, which I know is your favourite,
yeah,
if it just followed Jon, it wouldn't have been as good.
No. But then the books don't. So, with Game of Thrones, have you read it?
No.
You haven't read it. The books don't.
I still haven't seen the whole show.
Right. The books don't follow just one point of view. So, because it's such a big story that has to be told from different perspectives, different chapters will follow different characters.
Yeah.
And you get a more varied perspective on it. Which I suppose the show could have easily done for the Witcher could have easily done in terms of like the Netflix show. They could have just been like, well, we're just going to follow Geralt around. But it would have detracted from just the wealth of stories and perspectives that exist within the world.
I do appreciate the lack of filler.
Yeah.
Of just
it felt like
nothing
it was very
conversations
packed.
and nonsense bullshit. Yeah. Where, yeah, enough was covered.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a point where I was like, oh, fucking get on with it.
Yeah.
They did it well. The writers and all that did it well enough that I think everybody got a nice amount of screen time. Everybody got a nice amount of backstory. There was no point where I felt lost with a character.
Right, so that then moves into the other talking point, which was the criticisms. One of the main ones being that the characters were somehow underdeveloped and they didn't get enough time. Especially, so it was especially with characters that weren't the protagonists.
Yeah.
But even with the protagonists, that we didn't get enough time to kind of get used to them and,
like
appreciate them because there was so much action going on.
Like the bad guy, the sharp cheekbone bloke, whose name has escaped me.
The sharp cheekbone.
Yeah,
bloke?
the guy who works for Nilfgaard, who arranged to have the shapeshifter.
Oh shoot, yeah.
Yeah, him, for instance, we know fuck all about. But
Yeah.
there was always going to be more seasons. There was no way in hell that they were going to do this and it not come out with more seasons.
Oh right, but the
Which
criticism
they can be expanded upon then.
Yes, but the criticism extends to the protagonist. So I think there was it's the Forbes article, I think it might be the one on that
Expert
suggests that even Ciri is way underdeveloped. Apparently, we just don't know enough about her.
She's a kid. She doesn't have a personality.
No. Although I would also argue that the whole point is that you're meant to get to know her over time.
When someone says my kid's got a lot of personality, that's just code for my kid's a dick.
And I don't know that we don't know a lot about her. Like,
I
you
thought
saw
we
her
did.
react to...
We see her do stuff.
Yeah, and you saw her react to pretty terrible things.
Yeah. But it's not just that. It's how she reacted to terrible things. It's how she reacted to that elf boy that was with her.
Yeah.
And when he, like, talked to her and was like, yo, something ain't right.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel right. And she's like, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Something doesn't feel good.
Something, poop is afoot. And there was... So, you know, we know that she's a kid, but she's kind of, you know, she's got something up there.
Yeah.
She listens to her friends. She, you know, has the strength to endure.
But she's also very protective about her grandmother's legacy, and
despite the fact her grandmother is objectively terrible.
yeah, but
and was just the most annoying character in the world.
she was lovely.
She was so good. She was so well written.
Yeah.
I hated her, and that means that the actress did fantastically, and the writers did too. There was never a smugger moment than when she was like, "We need Carol. Somebody go get Carol. I've locked him out. Go and find him."
She was just Queen Calanthe.
Yes.
is the character's name, but she was.
I thought it was just Calanth.
Calanth? Sorry, Queen Calanth.
It might be Calanth.
I can't
I'm not
remember.
sure. I want to say Calanth. That sounds nice.
And Jodie May was the actress who played her, but yeah, that was she was just so good.
Such a dick. Such a fucking know-it-all.
I think there was also some discussion about how, which this is going to move us a little bit into a tangent about costume design, but there was some discussion about how, like, her armor just looked fit for purpose, and she was meant to be. She's like a warrior queen, and so she's meant to be wearing practical armor, and they just managed to make her wear practical armor. It's like, it's not even that hard.
Oh, what? Like, it wasn't a bunch of strings with...
Well, no, it's what
like video game armor sometimes
yeah.
is.
Well, no, because it's what shows that are historically accurate but fantasy tend to fall into, and sometimes even just shows that are pretend historically accurate is having boob plate. Like,
Boob plate.
Where would we put these titties? We must make room for titty.
Yeah.
And so they have like these little cups in plate
built
armor
into
where your boob would specifically fit.
Yeah.
Which would make it really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To own
No
boob.
wiggle room.
Yeah, no.
They I mean, surely if you were going into a combat situation, you'd strap those puppies down.
Yeah, because you wear something under
Yeah.
the
Even if you bandaged them up to your chest or something, just to make sure
Yeah.
that they weren't flopping about like crazy.
Yeah.
Or something. I mean, the last thing you want is somebody to slash a titty.
Yeah. You really wouldn't want
You wouldn't
really
want
wouldn't
your
want
wing
your
flopping
chest
about.
plate
Yeah.
to like
It's not like armor
point
has
out
a
where
cod piece like, outside it. It's like, what?
you just like really point out where they need to go for. Yeah, no. So but that then extends into like a discussion about how just the costume design was really, really brilliant. I enjoyed the variety of different outfits that they all wore. That they weren't just cartoon characters wearing one dress or one pair of trousers forever.
Yeah.
It felt like, I think specifically with Yennefer, it was one of those things where it was very obviously meant to drive home that she is very attractive, but also really practical. And that means that you don't have to see leg and boob all the time. And
not a Scandinavian Aryan masterpiece.
Oh right.
For in the show, neither Triss nor Yennefer
are white.
Are 100% anything that I can tell.
The actresses aren't white. Like fully, completely 100%.
Yeah.
Which was apparently a problem for some people, but
I don't really.
No.
If the right person's cast, if they can act the part well and fit the idea well enough, that's all that matters.
Then that's what matters.
Yeah.
We've gone off on a tangent because the talking point was the non-linear timeline.
Oh yeah.
And we'll come back to the casting and the representation. The point about the costumes was just very good. Yeah. So going back just a bit, was the non-linear timeline such a problem because it was listed as a problem?
There were moments where I was like, wait, what? but then I quickly caught back on again.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I spent an entire episode thinking, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
When I outright... Because it did take me like 2 episodes or something to figure out what was going on with the timelines.
Yeah. In order of, like, time, it's... Yennefer starts off earliest in time, as if time is a linear concept. Yennefer starts off at the very beginning of time.
Yeah.
Whatever. Geralt starts somewhere in the middle, and then Ciri's towards the end, and so Geralt catches up with Ciri, taking us to the so-called present of the story, and Yennefer's story just interweaves throughout, as like, so you see her from her very beginning throughout.
Yeah.
Geralt and Ciri's stories.
She played being ugly well, didn't she?
What does that mean?
She played it with a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And like whatever it was they did to make her look that.
Yeah.
Like with the cacked jaw and the hunchback and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was good.
It looked good, and she played it well.
Yeah.
There were because I mean, for instance, if you didn't know that she was going to become beautiful and that's what her actress actually looked like, there would be a bit where you thought, oh wait, that might actually be what she looks like.
Yeah.
The fact that she played it well enough to be comfortable in that.
It didn't feel like a suit that she was wearing. Yeah.
Which, yeah, kudos to her.
Yeah. She's very good.
For a young actress, very, very good. Which doesn't really, age doesn't really amount to much. Some people are great at some stuff.
No, but it can.
Yes, being seasoned is always good. But, I mean, what did you feel about her being closer, like her actress being closer to Ciri's actress's age than
the age difference between Henry Cavill and...
did you care?
I'm going to get their names up so that we can...
Charlotte, I think is...
So Freya Allen plays Ciri, and Anya Charlotte plays Yennefer. So the fact that Freya and Anya are closer in age than Henry Cavill.
Does that bother you at all?
It wasn't... I don't know. I didn't think about it while I was watching it, because you can't tell.
Henry does look good.
And I feel like...
Yes.
And they aged... And it felt like they aged Anya up a little bit to fit into Yennefer's role. It does... It bothers me when the casting is deliberate, in the sense that the characters are a certain age, and so it's very much like, well, we're casting an older man because the character is an older man, and the and the female character is a younger woman.
It's also that, well, I mean, Yen, I believe, is older than Geralt. But he looks like shit because of what he does.
Yeah.
She is, for all intents and purposes, a sorceress who sits around giving advice.
Yeah, but she is, and she's also magically
very
altered.
powerful.
Yeah.
And her age has been magically altered, like Geralt's has, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Geralt will probably live to be well into a couple 100 years old, as well. But he gets the shit kicked out of him every week.
Yeah.
She does not.
Yeah.
He's going to look weathered, so you would cast
Someone
an older man
slightly older,
who looked more weathered, even if Henry Cavill is 35 most.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to show, because you obviously you still want him to be young and attractive.
Yeah.
But he does have to. They should show a difference between himself and her.
I guess the counter to that is that if you look at Yennefer's video game character model,
she looks like a woman in her mid-30s.
She looks older. Yeah.
Yeah.
She absolutely looks older than
early
Anya playing
30s.
Yennefer in the show. Yeah.
Like she, because a lot of what ages Yen is her attitude.
Yeah.
That she's feisty and or just angry and or, she's intelligent and knows what she wants and is driven, and that, I don't want to say that ages a woman, but it
matures her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a better phrase. Which comes through whoever is playing her,
Yeah.
whenever.
Yeah.
Which brings her back up to it not being weird to me.
Fair. I didn't notice. So I
didn't.
found out about like the I
People
guess the
having a problem with that
weird
as well.
age quirk after watching the show, and then I found out about people having an issue with it. I can
Weird-
understand.
Weird age quirk.
Like,
Is that your My Hero Academia character?
how would that manifest?
You figure it out. I want that on my desk by the next podcast.
Weird age quirk.
Yeah.
No, so I found out about it after watching the show, and then I found out that people had an issue with it, which I can sort of understand. The practice of casting two leads and having your female lead be a lot younger than your male lead is an issue.
All due respect to everybody in the world.
Yeah.
But she was hired on to play a specific person for a reason.
For a specific role, yeah.
Which is a gorgeous, young looking, powerful sorceress.
It feels sometimes like it can sometimes some criticisms can sometimes go into the you've picked the wrong show to bring this problem up for, I guess. Like, yes, it's good to criticize something, especially something that's doing really well, which The Witcher is, and it doesn't have a lot of other issues. So it's good to sort of bring up, well, it's almost perfect, but it could be better. But to get really, really up in arms about it when it's one of its handful of issues that you can count on your fingers.
It's so tough because you can so easily fall into that attitude about PC where it's like no matter what they picked, it would have been wrong.
It's going to be wrong somehow, yeah.
Like, oh, they should have picked an older woman that matched Henry Cavill's age a bit more. It's like, well, then why can't a young woman play it?
Because, well, they can, but the idea is that why couldn't an older woman play it?
Exactly. So when it's anybody could play it, why does it matter who got picked?
Because
it's
there's
about
a trend
acting
of
capability.
Yes, but there's a trend of picking younger women. But I guess what I'm trying to get at there is that when that's one of the only problems, that they fell into.
That's not that big a.
Yeah,
the show clearly doesn't have that many problems.
They fell into normal casting practices or normal but problematic casting practices. Fine.
What's the name of the woman that teaches the sorceresses?
Tisea.
Fox. Am I wrong? She was cute as heck.
What is
older woman, foxy as hell.
Is she that? Is the actress that old?
Oh.
Oh my god, I'm trying to figure out where is she? Where is Tisea? Where she disappeared? Yes. She is.
Let me guess.
Mayanna Burning.
42.
She was born in 1979.
Which makes her
40.
Fuck. I was close.
You were pretty close.
I was pretty close. I'm usually pretty good at guessing.
She is 40. I was gonna say she's in her 40s.
She's
she is
supposed
40.
to display an older, wiser,
I suppose.
wiser.
She is also a sorceress and has access to the same. If she's, I mean, as far as like season 1 is concerned, she's not necessarily more powerful than Yennefer, but definitely better at controlling her powers.
Yeah, is Tisea the one that gets the gradually more batshit crazy necks on her dresses?
The collar.
Yeah.
The gradually bigger collar.
Get bigger and bigger until she's
well,
like
it's
a bat
her,
person.
And there was another sorceress who has just a giant collar by the end of it. But yes,
she's
Tisea
like having a collar off. Every scene, every time it pans to a bigger
slightly
and bigger collar,
thing. But I guess that's the thing. So the argument could be made, well, the actress who plays Tisea is 40. Why couldn't the actress who plays Yennefer be a little bit older? Considering they both benefit from the same magical powers that make them young forever. And it's a valid argument. I just feel like...
And in that same thing, why wasn't the person who plays Tisea younger? If she has that same power that keeps her young and fresh and juicy forever,
why isn't she then? And then you go into arguments like, well, because Yennefer is the main character and she.
But it will never be right.
Probably not. But it's worth having that discussion.
Or
I
at
just
least
feel
to people that care that much about that sort of thing.
well, no, it's worth
I
having.
just enjoyed the show.
It's worth having that discussion.
That's it. I just enjoyed the show. Podcast over.
I feel like it's a worthwhile discussion to have. I just also feel like it's not fair to be very, very harsh on it, on the showrunners, on the casting director for that choice when there's so much else that's really good about the show. Primary things being things that fall into
choreography. Fight choreography.
Oh, fight choreography. I was gonna say things that fall in, like bad things that usually fall into fantasy shows and fantasy stories, which
Like
is the
treating people, women
gratuitous
like shit.
Yeah, the gratuitous sexual assault.
Yeah.
Weird rape scenes, weird violence that doesn't really serve any purpose. Nude scenes that don't serve any purpose. Loads of stuff that The Witcher didn't have.
Because there was even that scene where they outright had Geralt bathing.
Yeah.
He was in a bath.
Yeah.
With Jaskier talking about powdering his buns.
Yeah.
And there was not a bit where he stood up and his wheen flopped out.
Well, you see, there wasn't enough wheen, to be honest.
It wasn't defined.
There wasn't enough
Explain
wheen
yourself.
because you got a fair bit of titty.
Yeah.
And full on just labia. But you didn't get a lot of.
Did you?
Isn't there a point at which you can just like see Yennefer completely naked?
Yeah, but I don't think you see some goot as well.
Well, she's standing there and isn't wearing anything, so you see.
Oh right.
You see.
Oh right, but
you see her
I
naked.
thought you meant like spread eagle.
Oh no, that's why I didn't say vagina.
Oh right.
Because you don't. Because you wouldn't
I thought
need
you were
to.
just being coy.
No,
I thought
no.
you were just being cute about.
No,
how
it
you
is
were
a
saying
different. It is a different part of someone's
Like,
anatomy.
with goot.
I mean, you don't really see the labia. You kind of just whatever. You see her naked, and you don't see any butt from Geralt. There's no peen.
Yeah. You do see those fucking pecs though.
Amazing.
Those forearms.
There's
dough.
that forearm porn.
Well, I mean that's the thing.
But
it's a woman showrunner.
Yeah.
She could have chosen, and she there must be a reason.
I mean, I think there's an element of, isn't it, with the US that if you show penis, it's then R-rated.
That could be it.
It pushes up the rating.
Kick up the.
Whereas if you show boobs, it doesn't. But boobs. But no. But I feel like, I guess with the other point I was going to make about nakedness is that it never felt
nudity.
Nakedness.
Please.
Is that it never felt like it wasn't empowering, especially for like Yennefer's couple of scenes where she doesn't have clothes on.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like she was being looked at by anyone that she didn't want to be looked at by. Even in terms of the way that the audience perceives the character.
Yeah.
It was filmed and shot in such a way that or filmed and set up, I guess, in such a way that it didn't feel like you were ogling someone. It felt like she just didn't have clothes on for a practical reason.
It wasn't, despite being naked, it wasn't overly sexualized.
No, yeah.
Which is a tough line to walk.
Yeah.
Which is well done, because even though she was naked, it was clear that she was doing that thing for a reason.
Yeah.
Which wasn't to just get laid. It was, she was about to have her uterus ripped out.
Well, even the sex scene.
Where, when they're just lying on the floor, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's with Geralt. I meant the other one. I forgot about the one with Geralt.
With the bloke, the yeah.
I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name. The guy that gets sad when they don't get together, and then she goes sort of crawling back, and then he's like, no. With the blue eyes. Huh?
Sorry, I found his name. Istred is his name. Istred is the sorcerer who befriends Yennefer at the very beginning, and then they sort of have a brief thing together, and then they, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So their sex scene was good. It was just good.
Even with the round of applause at the end.
Yeah. Well, no, it just, like, even then, Like there was an element of voyeurism, and yet it still didn't feel sleazy.
No.
It still felt empowering.
It felt kind of amusing.
Yeah. There was a lightheartedness to it. And it was poignant in that it showed you something about Yennefer's character.
Yeah. I didn't feel like shit at the end of watching it.
No.
I didn't feel like there was no real bad taste in my mouth at the end of it.
No. There are sex scenes that you can watch with your parents, I feel.
Okay.
Like, you know when you're
when
you're like watching something that has two straight people doing something together, and you're sat there with like adults that are adultier than you as an adult, and you're just like, fucking, can it end? Can it please end?
For me, that was Team America.
I don't know what.
Police. Have you not seen Team America?
I have not.
Oh my god, we are gonna have to watch Team America. That film is a fucking train wreck.
Okay.
But it's so good. All right. Anyone who's listening to this that watches that sex scene in Team America, you know what I'm talking about. The puppets, the 500 positions that are just so stupid. That's the sex scene I watched with my mum.
Okay, right.
That's the one. And it was just
It's garbage.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I was just a baby at the time.
All right. What gets me is, I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head, but what gets me is long, drawn out scenes that just don't fucking go anywhere. Like, great, they've been kissing for 3 minutes. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm not trying to watch softcore porn. Get on with it.
Fun fact, Cameron Diaz used to do softcore porn.
Thank you. But yeah, this it never felt like that, and like we said, there wasn't any sort of gratuitous sexual violence against women. Even in situations
there
where
was
I guess
gratuitous sexual violence against Yaskia by a woman who grabbed his peen.
There was, yes, yeah.
Toss a coin to your penis. I'm pretty sure was the line.
It was, yeah. Christ, but so that was, yeah, so it's just it didn't fall into any of the weird odd tropes that a lot of fantasy shows do, but all of it no,
you Englished so good.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Just a lot of it can be attributed, I would imagine, to it being a female showrunner.
Probably.
Or a woman showrunner. Don't want to sound weird about it, but to it being a woman.
A lady
showrunner. Who would have had an impact on that. So which goes back into, it's good to let other people tell stories sometimes.
I mean, even if you don't want to bring it down to because she's a woman, she's just good.
Yeah.
She is
good. Just very good.
She's just good. I don't want to make it about... I don't really want to make it about gender. I want to make it about skill. And she's good.
Thoughts on her saying that, people told her that they didn't get what was going on with the timeline until like 4 episodes in, and she was like, yeah, that was the point. And felt really proud about it until people were like,
well,
no,
she
I hated that bit.
She goofed me with that as well. Because, as I said, I was like 2 episodes in before I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
What do I think about the timeline doing that? Or what do I think about her response?
Her response to it. Because I feel
more power to her.
Huh?
More power to her.
Yeah, because I feel
there
like
needs to be more shit that's... Sorry, no, it's okay. There needs to be more stuff that's not just...
a linear story.
Yeah. Because the amount of people that watched it and go, I didn't like that because it was different.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So, like, as a writer and a creator and whatever, I feel like that sort of response that's just like, I'm just really proud of my work, and the fact that you thought about it makes me prouder of my work. Feels like a good response. I really liked it. Not just because she was sticking to her guns on it, but also because it's like, I worked really hard on this. Yeah.
Like, just taking away however one might have individually felt about it, it just worked.
Yeah.
as a narrative device.
Would you? So there was also some criticism surrounding, oh, it's very difficult to get into it, or along the lines of, there was some criticism along the lines of, oh, it's very difficult to get into it because it's very difficult to get into the show without any prior knowledge of the show, or without, failing that, without any prior knowledge of
the books. No, because the show is the books.
Oh, no, sorry, I phrased that wrong.
Oh.
Let me start from the beginning.
Okay. Oh,
there was also some criticism
about not having a background in fantasy.
No, let me start from the beginning.
Okay.
There was also some criticism about, or relating to, it being very difficult to get into the show without prior knowledge of the stories, the books, or the video games in some way, or failing that knowledge about how fantasy stories work. So if you took like a lay person off the fucking street who's never seen a fantasy show before,
Game of Thrones,
whatever, right? So they've never seen a fantasy show before, they've never read fantasy books or anything, they've never come into contact with that, and you put them down to watch, you sit them down in front of a TV to watch The Witcher, and it's really difficult for them to get into the show because
do you have a brain? Can you figure out trends and patterns within simple things?
Yeah.
Is somebody saying something and then you can retain that piece of information, you'll do fine.
You've got it.
Yeah.
It feels like a
fucking senseless dig.
It feels like a bullshit
yeah.
criticism, because not only because, it's a story like any other story.
Yeah.
But also because The Witcher is based on, so the books are based on folklore.
Yeah.
Which is one of the earliest forms of storytelling. Stories that weren't written down, that were passed down from one person to another, that were easy to retain, that used tropes and stock characters that you could easily relate to. Lauren, the showrunner, has spoken about how she felt that the characters in the books, the protagonists specifically, are very relatable. And she spoke about how she wanted to really build on that on the show and make sure that they were relatable, that these were people that you could look at and go, yeah, I've felt that once. I've fought whatever this monster is a metaphor for once.
Like the Striga is clearly a metaphor for being a parent.
Yeah.
It's like, my child's a fucking monster. She bit me. I'm pretty sure she feasts on farmers in the night.
But yeah, like, it's not, even if you take someone who's never been in contact with fantasy before,
I think if you have have anything in your head and you watch the show, you should just be able to figure it out.
Also, just the weird, like,
because I mean, if you have just a basic knowledge of folklore, of history, of if you went to school, you should be fine.
Should be okay. It was also one of the things that I read was that, the names. So this then bleeds into that comparison with Game of Thrones, which I really dislike. It's been compared to Game of Thrones a lot for some reason, as if it's like
I
the
compared
only.
It earlier in.
Oh no, but I mean, like, it's in just generally in reviews and articles, as if Game of Thrones is our only parameter.
It's not. I mean, I literally threw in Lord of the Rings not 5 minutes ago.
Because if you're going to compare it to anything,
it's closer to Lord of the Rings. Yeah. The Witcher makes several jokes about the Lord of the Rings. Just quickly.
Yeah.
I want, if wherever this is posted, leave in the comments. This is my idea for what would have been a better ending to Game of Thrones. If, like, right at the end, the White Walkers are on the steps, right? They're coming up. It's crazy. It's not good. Bad things happening. This time we go. And
you got there in the end.
They're like, oh, it turns out the Iron Throne isn't actually made of iron. It's actually made of Valyrian steel. Oh my god! And then they would have gone like, oh fuck, we've got like 3 Valyrian swords and 1 dagger, which I don't know is made of, and that's not enough. We need to melt down the Iron Throne, and then just Valerian tip all of the swords that we can find, or just make like at least 20. Yeah. How many did they say that it was made out of?
Wasn't there like hundreds? I don't fucking know.
Like 100, like at least 100.
Like at least 100.
and then the very thing that they're fighting over, all of them, desperate to get to.
Although, can you actually melt Valyrian steel?
I mean, they break down one and melt it into 2 swords, which they gave one of to that guy.
I don't remember.
The Kingslayer.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe you can. I don't know enough or care enough.
Didn't it have to be with...
Game
No,
of Thrones.
I can't... I want to say with Dragonfire, but that's not right either.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm looking
And
it up.
then they all turn it into swords, and then they all fight the White Walkers with that. How dope would that have been? The answer is yes. Write that in the comments. Sponsor us.
The answer is yes, it would have been dope.
Yeah.
Skilled smiths can reforge Valyrian steel weapons by melting down existing ones, but it is a difficult process.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes, yeah. There's a scene of
Yeah.
ice being melted down to create 2 other swords. Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So this, that would have been an idea if the throne was actually made of Valyrian steel. But anyway,
This is about The Witcher.
this is about The Witcher.
Better show. If you ask me.
I dislike. I mostly dislike the comparisons because Game of Thrones is a political fantasy show. I don't know if
guess.
that's like a correct way of referring to it, but it's a show and a series of books. It's a storyline where politics very much takes the forefront of the story.
Yeah.
It's very important. The goings on at King's Landing, what's happening with Daenerys in terms of her conquests, not just how many people she's killing.
There was so much talking in that show.
There's a lot of talking in the books too. But the politics are very singularly important, and there is a message about the politics and the red tape holds us back from doing what's actually important, which is fighting big scary monster. But
there isn't any of that in Witcher. It's like,
no,
Geralt, help. Something's gone wrong.
In The Witcher, they're not super clearly separated. There is some crossover where someone's being stupid about what is actually just a very important physical threat.
Yeah.
But there is a degree of separation where, that you have monster hunters who are paid. And
what few of them are left.
yeah, but what's very, like, I guess what sets Geralt apart is that he keeps insisting that he's above and parallel to politics, and then he's just not any of
The
them.
only times that Geralt gets involved in politics is when someone drags him unwillingly into it. Which makes him a fucking great character.
Yeah. But that is, so he's not really, the thing is, when he's not involved in politics, he's not sat there going, you guys shouldn't have this. This is stupid. You shouldn't have politics. He's like,
I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There is an understanding that it serves a purpose, and there is an understanding that it serves a purpose in some respects, that there are contexts and situations where having a king is useful.
The show and the books never fuck about with the idea that hierarchies and monarchies and all that stuff exist for a reason.
Yeah.
And Geralt never pretends that he knows best.
Yeah, or
and
best.
That he just doesn't care. And people are free to live and do whatever they see fit and all that stuff, but and all that stuff is still happening.
Yeah.
It still swirls around Geralt and the story that's running concurrently.
Yeah.
But the show and the books do really well on never making it all one or the other.
Yes.
There is still politics happening.
Yeah.
There is still the Nilfgaardian invasion.
Yeah.
While Geralt is decking Striggers.
Fighting monsters.
Yeah.
But in Game of Thrones, apart from the dragons and the White Walkers, which are just zombies, you don't really have
wraiths.
Yeah.
I think, isn't that the Wraith King?
I suppose, yeah. You don't really have other monsters.
Oh my god.
You don't have ghosts. You don't have, death is death, unless someone's brought back from the dead, which again goes into like the undead zombie trope.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty straightforward. Your only threat in the city is getting stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's magic users of different kinds, which are the wargs and so on. I guess the dire wolves, but the dire wolves are just big wolves.
They're just very big dogs.
They're very big dogs.
Yeah. They're good boys though.
I guess there might well be, but there's also like I don't know. I would argue that maybe there were at some point because it is Fantasyland, and then humans
killed them all.
Built over it. Yeah.
Well, that is actually something they also address in the Witcher games. That Geralt, oh my god, there is a bit where you save a godling from somewhere, and Geralt's like, all these people have built all these walls, to keep the monsters out, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't work.
No, but I would argue that in The Witcher, the tenuous balance between man and nature is just as important.
It's constant as well
as man versus man and man versus society.
That is Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So yeah, it does. Comparisons feel very.
Everybody's sad in the Game of Thrones.
Comparisons feel very forced.
Comparisons
between Game of Thrones and The Witcher feel very forced and unnecessary.
Yeah.
The style of storytelling.
Unless it's me literally saying, Game of Thrones is boring, I don't like it.
No, but the style of storytelling is very different. I would argue they appeal to different audiences, really. In terms of like, perhaps, maybe not in terms of like casual viewers, but definitely in terms of viewers who will become diehard fans, or people who genuinely care about the story. They appeal to different target audiences.
Kit Harington and I are already avoiding each other for the rest of our lives now because of that debacle at the airport, so I'm just jumping in for a penny and for a pound. Game of Thrones was boring.
Story for a different time. But I just, as a summary to that, I don't understand the comparisons to Game of Thrones, and I wish they'd stop. The Witcher is a different beast.
Show. No. that's that.
Let it be its own thing. And then so the other big talking point was, which we kind of touched on, was the representation in terms of gender, in terms of race and ethnicity. It set the show apart from, I suppose it set the show apart from the books, that you had people of color portraying different characters, although I don't know how descriptive the books are on how people look.
Not incredibly.
Yeah.
It will go because Andre's pacing is dope.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So he doesn't miss a beat to stop and tell you exactly what someone looks like and is wearing, and exactly how many freckles they've got, and all this nonsense
where it's relevant.
Yeah. And he breaks apart those descriptive elements throughout a conversation.
Yeah. So like really nice and smooth.
Yeah. So no, it doesn't properly go into it. So you get this idea because he's a Polish writer
that perhaps everyone's white.
There
was that discussion. There are articles that talk about it.
But ultimately, the very fact that we can say perhaps means it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I would argue that, and people have argued this before, the thousands and thousands of times, that just because something's set, so one, it's fantasy, so you can't tout historical accuracy at people. People with that skin tone wouldn't have been there at that time. Where in Fantasyland,
like, I bet you they kicked up a fuss about the black guy who works for Calenth. He was a knight, I think.
Oh, the knight that works for Calenth. Yeah.
Where there's no way a man with that skin color could ever be. Shut up. Well, it's also Fringilla and her father. Yeah.
Whose name is
in the games. I cannot, for the life of me,
remember who Fringilla is.
No, I know who she is. I just can't think of who. No, I can't think of a single blackface?
Gosh, no, I don't think. We might be wrong.
Very well might be wrong, but I cannot
can't
think
remember.
of one.
Definitely not in The Witcher 3.
Slightly like Spanish or Italian with
Just a white.
yeah,
Someone who's lightly tanned.
slightly olive skin.
Yeah, maybe. No,
With
no
the,
one with dark skin. No one of of any descent that isn't most likely Caucasian or white. Yeah, no, I can't remember. Especially not, I mean, because it's like, maybe there's like, I don't know, an NPC in the background somewhere. But the point being that in terms of the characters that you speak to that have speaking parts that follow you around and stuff. Yeah, no, I can't recall. Whereas in the show, not only was it a situation of, we have people from different backgrounds, from different countries who look different, as characters, but they're not just background characters. They are characters with speaking parts, with roles. They have a purpose.
Yep.
They serve a purpose.
And they're all finely acted, I might say.
Oh yeah, they're very good. Which is also, so that pulls into the discussion. Yennefer a little bit. I meant Triss. It pulls into the discussion Triss. Triss's actress and what she looks like, and people complaining that Triss doesn't look like Triss in the game. She doesn't have red hair.
I thought she had kind of red hair.
It's like reddish.
Like aubenish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't have unnatural red hair. No actual natural red hair.
Like vibrant neon red.
Neon red, yeah. But the books don't describe her that way, as having red hair.
Don't they?
No, she doesn't have red hair in the books.
Oh.
This was something I looked up, but
okay.
she doesn't.
Pretty sure she did get on the cover of Playboy though.
Yeah.
No, like seriously. I think
What?
Triss.
As in like the
Like the video game.
the video game
Sprite.
character. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's not. It's the video game character model is attractive, but she's it's very clear that she's just meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all there is to her at times. She's a good character, but that's
Triss's Bay.
Triss is a good character because Triss is a good character.
In game,
in the books, Triss is a good character on the show.
Manipulative and crazy.
Triss is a good character, without if you just read her on, she's a good character on paper.
Yeah.
But the way that she's physically portrayed in the games leaves a lot to be desired. Whereas on the show, I liked her a lot. And also, I guess I quite enjoyed her not being a love interest for Geralt.
She might still be.
Maybe. But I enjoyed her not being a love interest for Geralt in the first season. I don't know.
The only thing that I would have required is that there just be something that made all those characters stand out. Right. So in the games, Geralt's got white hair, Yennefer's got black hair, Triss has got red hair. It helps just break them up a little,
so they stand out visually.
Yeah. A little bit of that in the show might not have hurt.
Well, yeah, but that then goes back to everyone who's watching. That then goes back to everyone who's watching the show is a bit dim and needs very clear cues on this character's.
Call me dim.
A little bit. Like this character is definitely this person.
It's not about. It's interesting to look at, not necessarily.
It's interesting to look at.
I mean, like.
Come on.
Yeah.
She's got a very, very strikingly.
Jelly of her freckles.
She's got very.
Don't even bring your jelly freckleness into this.
She's got a very.
You're Jelly Clarkson right now.
She's got a very strikingly different aesthetic to Yennefer, and to most of the other sorceresses.
Remember the one that was
confused. Just boobs? I can't remember her name either. You don't confuse any of the of the sorceresses for each other. You're not like, oh, that one who also looks like the other. Like, no, they have very different aesthetics while still being like, they just look like normal people, which was also something that the showrunner wanted, that people just look like normal people.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then representation in terms of gender, all the women were really cool and felt like strong, fully developed characters.
Yeah.
As did the men.
That's just good writing.
Good writing.
That's just good writing. Good show running. Good acting.
Yeah.
Good.
We didn't talk about Jaskier at all.
He was cute. I liked him.
He was good.
Good singer.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that's actually him.
Because I think there was a thing where the actor was talking about how Tossic Mind Your Witcher was stuck in his head for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
It is still stuck in my head, and I watched it a month ago.
Yeah.
Constantly, just non-stop stuck in my head.
Yeah.
It doesn't help the fact that I'm constantly flipping coins. But well, yeah, because he was in something beforehand where he played a lute.
Oh, right.
Which is where he learned to play the lute. And then became Jaskier and played the lute some more. And he's typecast now, lute guy.
He's just the lute guy in
when you're a
everything
lute guy,
he plays.
oh, there's this dude.
He's the only actor that we know that plays a lute.
But Jaskier and Geralt's on-screen chemistry, fucking genius.
Oh, good.
They're so good.
Amazing.
I enjoy watching those two together more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because Geralt's so sick of his shit, but loves him nonetheless. With that scene of whatever it costs.
Yeah.
And Jaskier, you're alive. They I can imagine those two really getting on in real life.
Yeah.
Which they must have done. Which must have made. Yeah. Because I mean, I hear Henry Cavill's lovely anyway.
Yeah.
But and the other guy seems like a sweetheart as well. So they probably they got on really well. But behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Which definitely bled into and made their relationship better.
Joey Beatty?
Yes. Beatty.
Joey Beatty. As Jaskier.
Yeah. And yeah, they're just, and it is exactly near enough the relationship described in the books and shown in the game, where Geralt is consistently sick of
his shenanigans,
of Jaskier / Dandelion / Buttercup, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
And constant antics.
Yeah.
Yet cares a great deal for him.
Yeah. And they care a great deal for each other. I also really, really enjoy interactions between Yennefer and Jaskier. I think they're very good.
Yeah, where she thinks he's like shit that she stepped in.
Yeah.
And he thinks that she has stepped on him. he didn't invite. There is an aspect of fear and genuine dislike, as well as like it's kind of like Geralt's my friend. I want the best for him.
Yeah. And
you scare me, and I don't think you're very nice. Because he's not outright comic relief.
No. Yeah, which is also good. He's
the everyman.
Yeah.
He is the human, the outright normal human being caught up in all of this.
Yeah.
Among these gods and immortals and stuff.
Yeah.
Which he makes a good placeholder for the viewer.
Yeah, he's our in without being a protagonist, which I don't see all that often, but I really like it.
Yeah, we're allowed to live vicariously through him, which is good because he's also upbeat and lovely.
Yeah,
and he brings a brevity and no, not brevity, like a bright and light-heartedness to the. Actually, it might be brevity.
Brevity is the right word for that.
Yeah. To the show.
Yeah.
Unlike Game of Thrones, where I watch an episode and I just feel like shit at the end.
Oh yeah.
With this, I watch it and I'm It's amusing, and it makes me want to go out and have adventures, not stay inside because outside is scary.
Yeah, because things are terrible and people are terrible.
And people are molesting everybody, and there's zombies out there.
Well, you can't say that, because you can't say that anyone in The Witcher, any of the characters in The Witcher are good people. They all do terrible things, and they're all terrible people, but to some extent. Except for Jaskier,
that is
lovely.
Yeah, but that is he is also an absolute
philanderer. Yeah.
Lady killer.
Wow. But
yeah.
Yeah. Everyone does terrible things, but somehow, you can.
They're all still likable.
You can root for pretty much fucking anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Unless you turn the TV off and you're thinking about how much it upset you.
In which case, maybe that does make it a bad show. That's it.
Right. We covered The Witcher.
We did.
So far.
Season 1.
Yeah, season 1. Right. That was that episode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for listening.
And we will see you next time.
Next episode.
Peace.